Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about The Vigil.
בעלמא דברה כראותי, וימליך מלכותי, ויצמח פורקני, ויקרב משיחי.
Extremely sorry for your loss.
You have to leave now.
בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
So before we get into this today, I just want to give a big shout out to Beardly and the Black Sheep. They do oddities and apparel and just some really cool stuff. They sent me this shirt that I just absolutely love, and then they also sent me just this amazing sticker. Like, I absolutely love this sticker. And they sent me a really nice friendly card too. So I highly recommend you guys go over to their website, check them out, and buy something. They sell some really rad stuff. Alright guys, with that, let's get into this review. So last night I rented The Vigil, and it was like $6.99, so that's a fair price. It's not one of these crazy $19.99 rental prices like some of these new releases have that just blow my mind. So off the top, I just want to mention how much I enjoyed the unique feel of this, the cultural difference. I'm not someone who knows a ton about Judaism or the Jewish people or any of that in Yiddish. And some of the dialogue in this movie is Yiddish, but there are subtitles. But there's really not a lot of dialogue in this, so that doesn't really have an effect one way or the other. But I really enjoyed how unique it felt. So to me, it added to the fear of it, because it added this foreign, out-of-my-element component to this movie. It has a very isolating, atmospheric feel in general. The lighting has this really dingy, creepy feel overall to it that just kind of leaves you with this feeling of there's things happening around you that you just can't quite see. And I love movies that do that. They just continually keep you off balance because of that lighting, just leaving you with this uncomfortable feeling all of the time. And then the sound does the same thing. The sound is never a big factor in this. You're never really thinking about the sound, except for maybe in a few parts here and there where it goes along with some body horror. But for the most part, the sound is just kind of there. And you don't notice it. But it leads to the overall energy and vibe of this so well, with just the littlest creaks and these deadened parts where the sound is almost like vacuum sucked out of the movie. And just things like that, I thought the sound design was just so good. And just the overall set design was fantastic. Everything feels lived in, including the people. This whole world, it feels like one that I've lived in, that I know, that like I've been to this place, I've met these people, I have felt wrapped before in this universe. And I love that because it really is easy, at least for me. It was very easy to just fall into this movie and feel like I was surrounded and just engulfed in this story. It has a very small cast, with Dave Davis basically being your main and almost only actor. Besides him, there's just a couple others sprinkled in for a few minutes here and there, but mostly it's focused on him. And he does an outstanding job at just carrying this movie and constantly keeping you feeling invested into what's going on and how the story is unfolding. One of my favorite parts about this movie is this little old lady. And even though she gives a very moving scene where her dialogue that she gives is just very powerful, in general, she's just so creepy and really added to the level of uncomfortableness and just out of my element that I felt while watching this. And to me, when all those elements come together, the lighting, the sound, the acting, just the overall look and design, and you're just sucked in and just engulfed in it, it becomes an experience. More than just going and seeing and watching some little movie, you feel wrapped in this atmosphere. And I really appreciate that about this movie very much. So right from the beginning, the body horror begins on really small levels, but there are some very powerful body horror moments in this movie. It isn't one of those huge graphical type of situations where there's bodies morphing and things like that. It's not like to that level, but the little effects that are done, these little things here and there, just really get to you. They just kind of burrow under your skin. And I loved how subtle everything was, but it's like it was subtle, but it was built on top of itself until all these little elements, including the body horror, really start to have an effect, even though they may be minor. Overall, this has a very emotional, powerful, moving story to this, but they never lose sight that they're a horror movie and never lose sight that they're here to scare you.
There is something very, very wrong here.
Because every time it starts to go into the drama and starts to feel a little bit like it's becoming a drama, something pulls you right back into your discomfort and your feeling of just uneasiness and knowing that something is right around the corner and gonna get you. Because there's huge amounts of this movie where things aren't happening, but it kind of always has this feeling that at any second something could happen. And it really loves to build the dread. I can't believe that the creator of this, Keith Thomas, is new, and this is his first film, because it felt very patient and nothing was rushed. And I love the pacing and the overall direction that this movie takes. I thought was done very well. A lot of what I really enjoyed about this movie was because of that. It really knows how to build dread and how to build anticipation, and sometimes to the point where you're like, I can't believe something hasn't happened. Like, I know something is gonna happen, but yet nothing does, and you're just kind of like waiting and waiting. And then other times you start to get into that lull of thinking that the anticipation is always gonna be stretched out, and then something happens where it's just like, bam, really quick. You know, you don't expect, and all of a sudden, boom, there's something that just happens. And I thought that this movie just in general does a really good job of keeping you off kilter and never feeling comfortable and never knowing what's going to happen next. So this movie does deal with some Third Reich, Nazi, World War II elements, but it never does it in a really heavy-handed way. And I felt like it does pull you into where you can feel that real, true horror of what that was, because that's true, real-world horror. But yet, it doesn't go so heavy into that, like I said before, that it loses sight of that this is a scary movie, that this is meant to be a horror movie. It does have fun in it, even though there is dread, and even though there is some sad parts and some emotional parts. Like I said, it never loses sight that it's a horror movie. And so because of that, it never gets too heavy and never gets too oppressive, even though it does deal with some powerful stuff. In general, I just had a really good time watching this, and I'm completely blown away that I'm not hearing more people talk about this movie. So to wrap this up, I thought this is a great little horror movie that I definitely would recommend you going out and renting. Even though you got to spend like $6 to do it, I feel like it's worth spending that money because it is a really enjoyable little film. So I'm going to give this movie a B+. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me today. Please hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this, and I try to post videos like this at least 2 times every week. I also want to give a huge thank you to my patrons, because your support means so much to me. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.